Jem.
And I'm Victoria.
And this is
The Criminal Crack.
That makes me think of chicken attack. I'm still learning to yodel, folks. Happy 15th episode.
Happy 15th episode.
Oh,
that's
16.
nuts.
16 really, because we had one bonus episode.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we did the one bonus episode.
I did, which is pretty piss poor if you ask me. There should have been another one by now, and it's your turn. So.
Oh, okay then, Jim. I shall think of something. I don't know why I did an accent.
Dolly
Hello.
Parton.
You've landed at the Criminal Crack. This is what we're like for the first few minutes of the intro, and then we get serious.
We do, but if you don't like that, tough.
Yeah.
We've been busy. We were guest stars.
We were guest stars. First of all, we got together, didn't we, in an evening, and we watched a movie because we were going to guest on Beyond Graves and Stars, which is our friend's podcast about horror and sci-fi. We decided that we'd choose a film which none of us had seen. Mm-hmm. And
Victoria decided to pick it.
Was supposedly based on true crime. Oh,
don't
that's it. You
it.
blame me.
I do blame you because you gave me a list and then you went, "We'll just go with this one, will you?" Because I went, "I don't know what any of those are." Where's the My Little Pony movie?
The schmooze. Yeah, so we did. We can say what film, can't we?
I think we should just leave them to go and find the link, and because it comes out tomorrow morning.
Oh, it does. It'll be ready for your listening pleasure tomorrow.
It will be in your ear canals. Moto. Do you know that reference?
No.
Madagascar. Anyway, it'll be on tomorrow on Beyond Graves and Stars.
Yeah.
So I don't think we tell them anything, except we had wine. And
we had wine, but we were also recording remotely for the first time.
We were. Well, it was my first time. It wasn't your first time.
No, it was the first time as a threesome, though.
Ooh, our missus.
More tea, Vicar. It'll be all right. It'll be fine. It was good fun.
I don't know. I think I need somebody else to listen to it first that knows us, i.e. you.
I'll listen.
And then let me know if it's okay, because I'm a bit, I don't know.
Are you self-conscious?
Not self-conscious. I don't know what I'm thinking about it, to be honest with you.
Are you worried about making a fool of yourself on the internet?
I've done that so many times before. Why would I be?
Kind of what I was getting at.
I'm trying to think how many sentences I actually finished that I started. I'm not Magnus Magnusson. When I start, I don't always finish. I move on to something else, something shiny catches my eye, and I forget what I was talking about, but I carry on talking. I try to fight my way through that. I don't know how much of the sentences I finished.
And sometimes she does get interrupted by an annoying co-host.
Who was not Andy. Victoria has this habit which you guys don't get so much. She's just cleared her throat and I drank, so she's in trouble for that, but you guys don't get so much because I edit it out because it drives me bonkers. But she will, halfway through you making a point about something, she'll talk about something that's got nothing to do with it. Basically she thinks out loud, and during that episode I was talking about something and she started going, "I'm just moving my lamp was here, I felt like it was dark and I moved my lamp." And nobody needed to know.
I didn't do it like him from Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, though.
Oh, Betty! Was that a good impersonation of Betty? No, what's his name? You thought it was him.
I can't remember his name. Come on, people, what's his name?
Anywho, but it was... Anyway, let's move on. Let's go back to what we were talking about.
See, she's done it to me again.
And she doesn't talk like that.
Thanks, Spencer. Thank you.
Thanks, Spencer. You're welcome. You told yourself. Thank yourself.
Thank you, Victoria.
And
Betty.
You're welcome. She does sound like what I do. Anyway, yes, we did that guest starring thing. And was that the night that I spilt the wax everywhere? Or was that a different night?
That was...
We watched another film. Dead Poet. Right, Victoria came round one night. I get really depressed at this time of the year, like proper depressed, and like SAD really affects me. And so I said to Victoria, "Come round, we'll watch a movie." And when she got there, I said, "Nothing too heavy," because all the movies, I think you'd suggested a few, and I was like, "That's a bit heavy. I know, let's watch Dead Poet Society," and neither of us had watched it. Both of us had forgotten what happens in Dead Poet Society.
There's an underlying theme in that film which made us both go,
oh.
But we did have snacks and we were on a little sugar high, weren't we? So
I didn't eat any of the snacks. I didn't have one mawam or anything. You were making me laugh. You were like a little chipmunk or a little like squirrel that has found its nuts. And you're like, oh, I don't like this one. It was funny. I didn't have any of those mawam for about a week and a half.
Do you know how many squirrels actually lose their nuts forever? Many. Like 80% of their nuts goes, like, they bury them thinking they're being really organised, and then apparently they forget completely. And they're like, oh, where are me nuts? And they don't find them again.
Is this why they're like a species that is protected? Because they're too thick to...
Potentially.
Pandas, man. Pandas. They're like that. I had stuff to say and I wrote it down on a bit of paper and I've forgotten, but I would like to say, please, can you go and follow our socials? We are at The Criminal Crack on TikTok. We are there on Facebook.
Instagram?
At Facebook and Instagram. And you can find us on a lot of the streaming platforms at The Criminal Crack too. And we want you to talk to us. We're lonely.
We're so lonely.
She's actually just put her head down and her eyes down.
Talk to us. We love interaction, and
we do.
Unless you just think we're two scary, crazy ladies, and you're afraid of us, but
you should be. Jinx. Ha.
Oh, she kicked me.
Because I couldn't punch you from there.
Okay.
So, yeah, we haven't really spoke about what we've got up to, but we have spoke a lot. Oh, you didn't have it, but the pear crumble I just ate that your mum made.
Was it divine,
darling?
It
was beautiful. The crumble of the crumble.
The crumble topping.
Yeah. Well, it is the crumble.
Yeah.
It had ginger in it.
Why isn't it called crumble and mush?
And filling, because the mush is in between, where the crumble goes kind of mushy, and then you have like your fruit. I don't know. Today is a horrible case before we get into that as well, so I'm just warning you guys. And have we been up to... Oh, you got Tilda Swinton. Tell them about that charity. Tell them about that jumpsuit.
I went to a charity shop that I'd never been to before. I kind of found it accidentally, which was exciting. And I bought a few bits and bobs, and it was just... The things in there were so beautiful, and it wasn't the cheapest charity shop, but that's okay because it's for charity. And I picked up a vintage jumpsuit with like bat wing flare leg things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
They're more than flares. They're like uber flares, and it's a high neck, and it's like paisley vintagey.
I think you need to put a picture up.
I'll put a picture up because it's just absolutely adorable. And as I was buying it, the woman at the checkout said, "Oh, this is Tilda's," and I didn't. Or she thinks this was Tilda's, and I didn't understand at all what she meant until I spoke to, I think it was it you?
Me, yeah, I said it'll be Tilda Swinton.
And yeah.
But we're not telling you where the charity shop is. It's not particularly local to Tilda. I don't know why she goes to this particular one. And the reason the clothes are things are a bit more expensive is because in that charity shop, it's really good quality things.
Very
it's not like
good,
Primark
yeah.
and stuff.
Very good. I also bought a crystal... I don't think I told Gemma about this.
Oh.
It's like a crystal bowl that hangs by 3 chains, and I think you're meant to put plants or even a candle in it. I'm not quite sure.
Every time I see you, I say, let's see your wares, let's see what you've got, and you didn't tell me about that.
I think I forgot about that one because it got packed straight away, because I don't actually have anywhere to live at the moment, so when I have a place of my own, then I shall unpack.
No, but you should still tell me about them.
I will try and remember. So, Gem, what's the crack?
Well, today I am taking you to a location that I'm fairly familiar with, in a time that I was not yet even born, and neither were you, and where a crime that, though it took place in 1980, I didn't become aware of until 2023.
Oh.
Okay. And I've sat on this case for a while, and I know I've mentioned this case in the past to you, so it's not going to be entirely new to you, but I don't think you know all the ins and outs. It's still unsolved, and I wanted to have as much information as possible to share with you and you listeners, not just Victoria. And I can't really be sure I've got everything, but I've tried to give 2 young boys and their families and friends the best that I can.
Okay.
So, on this podcast, I regularly refer to myself as the Scottish one, so that you guys listening can distinguish me from Victoria, the English one.
Even though, yeah, we sometimes sound the same, it's a bit strange.
When we listen back, we can't always tell who said what.
And the naughty stuff is always Gemma, and the inappropriate stuff is always Gemma.
Yeah, the filth is always me. But in actual fact, I'm half Scottish on my mother's side and a quarter English, quarter Irish on my father's side. It is his side of the family, so my dad's side of the family, that mainly reside or have resided in the town of Whiston in Merseyside.
And I know which case you're doing now, but I don't know anything about it. It was a case that you suggested I read about a while ago, and I never ever got before the pod, and I never got round to it. So I'm
It's horrible.
I'm invested in this, but yeah, I know the gist of.
So it's a UK case, as you'll know if you. I guess there might be Whistons in other part of the world, but this is the Whiston in Merseyside. So it was originally called Whiston, Quistan, and the first mention of the town was in 1245 and was considered to be located in the West Derby Hundred, aka West Derbyshire of Lancashire, if that doesn't confuse matters.
Spelt Derbyshire for those, because sometimes Americans hear things or read things and then say them a different way. I do it as well.
We all do it, yeah.
I do it, I say place names how I read them.
You say them and then we correct you and you still say them, but...
Because usually my way is more fun.
The West Derbyshire Hundred refers to one of 6 boroughs that made up Lancashire, alongside Merseyside, West Lancashire, Wigan Borough, Warrington Borough and Halton Borough. At some point, boundaries changed and Whiston became part of the Merseyside area, which I think just makes sense because it's only a quick train ride into the centre of Liverpool, which is around 8 miles away. Originally, the town was a hub for the agricultural sector, but by 1521, coal mining had started there and eventually it took over as a primary industry in Whiston. This led to the creation of tens of collieries, or coal mines in the 18th and 19th centuries. That is a hard word to say.
Colliery.
Colliery.
Yeah, it's all right. I used to live in a colliery town in Northumberland.
Colliery, I'm saying it wrong then. You're going to have to correct me every time. In 1980, one such colliery still stood, and it comes into play in today's case, although briefly. From at least 1959, the year my old man was born, the Hampsons have been there, and most of my memories from growing up come from the side of Whiston, which is home to Whiston Hospital. So my maiden name is Hampson, in case you're wondering. They're not in this case. I regularly visited my nan and granddad's 3-bedroom home on Oak Road for my school holidays, and with my cousins would nip over to Tony's shop for bits and pieces for my nan or my Auntie Carol. Cigarettes quite often for my auntie.
Oh, what in the days when you...
Yeah, you just went with a list.
Yeah. My nana told me to get cigarettes for her, and you got it on a bit of paper strapped to you or something. Yeah.
And they're like, sure, and you're coughing up because you've got emphysema. And then we would go into Ken's shop for some sweeties. I would walk my cousins to school at Whiston Willis Primary and later Higherside High School, as they always broke off later than I did. And then we'd walk back to Nan's or back to their home in Poets Green. It wasn't until we were a bit older and they moved to St Nicholas Road that I got to see the other side of Whiston, and this is where our case begins and life ended for 2 little boys. Following Victoria's lead in episode 12, Stranded, the unsolved murder of Christina Menzies, I will set the scene to take you back to 1980, because I liked how you did that.
Oh, thanks.
Mine's not... Yeah. Having won the 1979 election, Margaret Thatcher of the Conservative Party was Prime Minister. Employees of the British Steel Corporation staged the first strike since 1926, calling for a pay rise of 20%. 1980 saw the first episode of Yes Minister, and for those like me that don't know, this was a show based on the life of character Jim Hacker, who was the UK Cabinet Minister in a fictional version of the Department of Administrative Affairs. In the same year, on December 8th, John Lennon was murdered in New York, feet away from the doors of the Dakota building where he lived. And Wham had #1 hits with I'm Your Man and Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. Wham! These were the days before mobile phones and apps such as Facebook and Snapchat, when children spent as much of their time outside playing as possible. Home time was usually marked by streetlights coming on or mothers shouting their children loudly, resulting in the sound of the pitter-patter of small feet as children legged it home before their mothers had to shout for a second time. During these times, small towns just like Whiston felt safe.
Yeah, do you remember when we used to just go home when we were hungry, basically?
Yeah.
That was it. We'd go home, and sometimes we didn't get very hungry, and we'd just go, can we have some more time, when we were sort of meant to be going home? Yes, 10 more minutes. We're like, we don't know what 10 minutes looks like. We don't have a watch.
I still don't understand. I can't judge time at all, as you know. So, yeah.
And we never got bored, so it was like, we were just out all hours, really.
It was brilliant.
And it was, maybe it wasn't, it felt safe.
It wasn't safer, but yeah.
It felt safe.
I think because we didn't hear about things going on in different places. We've spoken about this before, yeah. But I do remember I used to go to my other granny in Forres most weekends, and I would hear Gemma, and I knew if I didn't absolutely leg it to get there, I would be in trouble.
Yeah, I remember going to your granny's in Forres with you. Yeah.
And she was ace.
Yeah, she was.
Aww. Parents felt okay with their children roaming the area to play with their friends, as nothing bad could happen, could it? It was normal for kids to be out all day at the weekends and during the school holidays when the weather permitted. Today we begin our case on one of the last weekends of the English school summer holidays in 1980. It was Saturday the 16th of August, and local kids knew they were coming close to the end of the holidays, so they were of course keen to squeeze every last drop of fun out of their final weeks of freedom, knowing that soon they would be sent to bed early in preparation for the new academic year. It was the kind of day parents pray for when kids are off school. You know the kind. Beautiful, sunny blue skies without a cloud to be seen. Perfect for the kids to be outside and get the warm rays on their faces. Leaving parents and younger siblings at home and not expected until hunger hit.
There we go.
Yep. Or curfew time arrived. For two young boys, 11-year-olds John Greenwood and Gary Miller, it was an especially exciting time as they were about to embark on their first year at the local comprehensive, Higherside High School, and the weather was amazing. They had already spent the morning and early afternoon out and about in the village with their pal George McCartney before they all headed home to their own homes for lunch between 1:30 and 2. At around 4:30 that evening, John went to his father, I'm going to call him John Senior, and asked if he could go back out to play, explaining that he wanted to go and knock for his friend and then go scrumping for apples.
Something which I still do.
You do. He told his father that the friend's mum and dad were going to be out until 10 p.m, so could he stay till then to keep him company? John Senior told him that was fine, and so at 6 p.m, John headed off to his mates. However, when he got there, he discovered that the friend wasn't in. Wandering back to Raleigh Avenue, where he lived, he made the decision to go and knock at Gary's door and see if he wanted to come instead. Gary asked his mum if he could, so the pair left, intended to head to get themselves some apples. George McCartney wouldn't be joining them on this occasion, as he had gotten into trouble with his mother for getting so mucky the last time they were out and about and had to stay at home. He was grounded. I remember being grounded. Well, I was grounded a lot.
I wasn't. They never wanted me home. No, if we ground her, she's got to stay here.
I remember I would be grounded and I wasn't really allowed to do anything, and I would be in my room for a week, not allowed to do anything. I remember one time saying to my mum, look, can you just smack me instead? Heighton Dump was located just off Pottery Lane and sat on the land of a derelict coal mining site complete with abandoned colliery. According to my dad, the landfill was nearest to the Heighton end of what is now known as Stadmore's Country Park, and this is perhaps why I had no idea where it was. Heck, he and I had never even heard of the case until I came across it 2 or 3 years ago. In 1983, the landfill site had been cleared away, and the area was completely regenerated and named as Stadmore's Park. 220 acres of beautiful green grass, trees and bushes which runs between the towns of Whiston and nearby Heighton, so that happened after today's event. The children had previously been told not to go there by their parents as they considered it not to be safe, but the local kids tended to congregate there regardless, drawn in by the main attraction, an orchard which was in the spot where an old farm used to sit. You'd have been there.
I'd have been there. It sounds so innocent as well. I know this is going to be heartbreaking.
It's awful. It really is. And the reason that I'm telling this story is because it's unsolved still.
Wow.
And because it's kind of close to home, because I spent time there, and I honestly can't believe that as a treat, because I did the radio show first, none of my English family told me about this case.
Was it a case of them trying to protect you, or did it just not occur to them?
Didn't occur to them.
Right.
They wouldn't have told us when we were younger, obviously, but yeah. And also, in 1980, my cousin was ill, so a lot of this might have actually bypassed them, in fairness.
Yeah, and also, I think they forget the time frame, because I know when I did the episode about the air stewards and things, Mum and Dad had watched the hostage one on live on the news, but they'd sort of forgotten what time it happened in.
Yeah.
You know, what time they knew they'd seen it on the news, but they didn't know when. So.
Your brain stores things, doesn't it? And it's not until somebody mentions something, like you're triggered by something said will trigger a memory as well, and you're like, oh yeah.
It's like you've got a filing cabinet in there and it goes,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mine's a mess. When the pair left their street, they took a route which cut across the car park of the then Horseshoe pub. Witnesses would later recall seeing the pair crossing over Windy Arbour Road before cutting through behind the Whiston Labour Club, which incidentally would become familiar to me when my nan later started working there. She was a barmaid. They then bumped into Ian Twigg, one of Gary's best mates, who decided to join them and go and pick apples, air quote. I use these because this was apparently code amongst the young boys for going for a sneaky cigarette. They were 11.
Okay. Probably nicking their nana's woodbines.
Probably. They started young. You used to be able to buy them singles, though, didn't you? And if you went to the shop and asked for cigarettes and said it was for your mum, I bet they just sold them anyway.
Probably.
Well, we know they sold them anyway.
They probably didn't want to deal with the
them
mums when the kids didn't turn up with the cigarettes.
Yeah, probably. Unfortunately for Ian, his dad came across the trio on his way home and caught them sitting on a wall smoking. Scolding the boy, his father then marched him back to their home on Nelson Avenue in Whiston. Probably laughing their heads off at their pal's misfortune, John and Gary slid off the wall and continued on their way to the orchard, and at about 7:05 were seen crawling through a hole in the fence which surrounded Heighton refuse site. No more than 15 minutes later, a local man called, you'll like this name, Herbert Rush.
I do, I love that name. Sounds like an actor.
Sounds like yeah, it does. Or a detective.
Oh, yes.
DCI Herbert Rush arrived at the tip whilst out walking his dog for the evening and saw someone behaving in a somewhat peculiar manner. According to Herbert, when he arrived at the tip, he saw a man crouching down, sitting back on his haunches, quote, banging something. Herbert didn't have a chance to see what it was before the man stood upright and walked out of the tip and away. He described the man as being of average build with dark hair. As the man left, Herbert found himself with a deep sense of unease and thinking that something wasn't quite right. What could the man have been doing? Almost without thinking, he made his way over to where he had seen the strange man sitting, curious as to what he'd been doing. As he neared the spot, he found a dirty old mattress that had clearly been dumped as it was no longer fit for purpose, and the grass around the area was flattened down as if someone had been sitting there. As he contemplated all of this, he heard a groaning sound just as his eyes found the body of a young child lying face down under the mattress.
Oh my goodness.
He spoke to the child, trying to coax him out as he lifted the corner of the mattress. When there was no response, he pulled the mattress higher and, horrified, found himself faced with the back of another child, also laying face down, the back of his head a mess of blood. Shocked beyond belief, he laid the mattress back down and ran as fast as he could to a nearby home to call the police and ambulance service. Remember, this was 1980 and mobiles weren't a thing, and a lot of homes didn't even have a house phone. Luckily, he found a family that had one he could use, and at 7:38pm, the police and ambulance knew they had an awful scene to attend and were on their way. Paramedics arrived quickly and were able to get the two children loaded up into the ambulances, taking them straight to Whiston Hospital about 5 minutes away. When they got there, it was determined very quickly that Whiston wasn't the best place for them to be treated. To get the best care and to have any chance of survival, they had to be rushed to Walton Hospital, now known as the Walton Centre in Fazakerley, as they had the equipment and team that the children would need desperately.
So they're both still showing signs of life?
Yeah, at that point.
Wow, okay.
As soon as they arrived, life-saving measures were continued on both boys by the team there. While all this was going on, time ticked on as usual for John's parents, Barbara and John Sr. At 10pm, Barbara arrived at the home of the friend John had been due to meet initially to collect him, but when she got there, her son was nowhere to be seen. She came back home and told her husband, and whilst they were a little concerned, they figured that he must have met him with another friend and was just running late. They decided that Barbara should stay with their younger children and John Sr. would head out and have a look around the streets for their son. At 10:30, when her husband came home without their son, Barbara made a call to local police to report her eldest child missing, and John hit the streets again, trying a place he hadn't yet been to. When he returned home for the second time, he was given the news that police had rung the home while he was out. They had told Mrs. Greenwood that there had been an incident involving 2 boys, one of whom matched the description of her son, and they were coming to take her to the hospital. John Sr. then headed to the hospital too. The Millers had also been told that their son may be one of the children found, and so Alma and Ron Miller also rushed to the hospital, leaving 15-year-old Ronald in the home waiting by the phone for news, whilst the oldest son, William, aged 16, and youngest, Kenneth, aged 8, went to relatives to be cared for. When they arrived, it was established that the boys were in fact Gary Miller and John Greenwood. That said, when Ron Miller entered the room where his son lay, covered in bandages and hooked up to all kinds of tubes, he couldn't even recognise him as his own little boy. It was only a scratch on his left hand and a birthmark on his chest that made him at all recognisable to his own parents.
So that man had really come across them very quickly as well, hadn't he?
Yeah, so they had climbed through the fence at about 7:05 and he had found them 15 minutes later. Awful.
Oh, yeah, and for a father to see, or for a parent to see their child like that in the hospital, oh, doesn't bear thinking, does it?
It really doesn't. It makes me want to hug the kids.
Yeah.
Doctors informed the Greenwoods and Millers that both boys had been hit over the head repeatedly by some kind of blunt instrument, and as a result had lost a lot of blood, around 1 gallon between them. Marks on John's neck showed that there had also been an attempt to strangle him. While the boys were fighting to survive, police launched a full-scale murder hunt, but we'll get into that, led by Detective Superintendent Les Holden Leeds, who would be running the investigation from a special incident room set up at Huyton Police Station. Over 100 officers had been brought in to scale the area the boys were found, to look for clues pointing towards who on earth could have committed this awful crime. Tracker dogs were used to find tips that the human eye might miss, and local volunteers were also available to help search. I hate this case.
Did the dogs get any scent or follow anything or any trace?
Nothing that I could find, but you're going to be pissed off later on in the story.
I'm already pissed off.
I know, it's horrible, just little boys. And when I'm going to put pictures up of the boys, they look really young. Nowadays, sometimes I'll see kids that are... So Xavier's 12, so some of his friends were obviously a bit younger, and they look more grown up. So seeing these pictures...
Even Theo did for a while. I mean, I know he's a giant now, but...
Yeah, but he was still baby-faced for a long time.
Yeah. And, I mean, even regardless of that, though, just... It sounds frenzied. Like, what could 2 11-year-olds do to make somebody do that in that short space of time?
I know.
It's heartbreaking.
Somebody that's clearly not in the right mind at the time, I would have thought. Because usually when it's really frenzied, they consider it a crime of passion, don't they?
Yeah. Was there a sexual motive? Or...
No. I'll get into this. There was no...
So that's even more perplexing then, because that's often like, you know, when somebody's got a deviance. Oh, wow. What a case.
I didn't actually include it in my notes, but I knew you would ask. So there was absolutely nothing found that would signify that it was sexually motivated.
But sometimes the harm itself can give the perpetrator...
It can, but they don't even think.
Right.
On the morning after the double attack, DSI Leeds spoke to the public and issued details of a person of interest, asking them for their help and any information. This description came from the man that Herbert Rush said he had seen at the tip the day before. Leeds announced that they were looking for, quote, a man wearing a dark brown jacket with dark brown trousers and a swept-back Ronald Reagan-style haircut. He is described as aged between 30 and 35 years, about 5'8" tall with normal build. Not only this, but they also made it clear that due to the brutality of the attack, this person would have been covered in the boy's blood. Head injuries, as we know, cause a lot of bleeding. Like, we've had a few bumps with the kids, and you think, oh my God, the amount of blood. And then it's this tiny little cut. Well,
yeah, you can imagine with that ferocity that they're going to be caked.
They were. I'm guessing that because he was wearing dark clothing, though, passers-by may not have noticed the blood unless for some reason they were paying particular attention to him when he walked past. But it's likely that it couldn't have gone unnoticed to someone who maybe lived with the person. This person could also have been messy in other ways, as Herbert also told the police that debris had clearly been put on top of the boys to cover them up. And in fact, if the person who did it had had more time, it's likely the boys wouldn't have been found as quickly.
And if he hadn't been seen, basically, in the act, because he was caught in the act. I was just going to say, remind me what time of... So this is August, yeah? Because
it's
just
the
before they're
16th of
going
August.
back to school.
Yep.
So... It was warm. You said it was...
It would have still been really sunny at that time as well.
That's what I was trying to establish. Would it have been light? But it would have done, wouldn't it?
Been really light because you're 10 o'clock at night.
So anyone that had seen him afterwards, so did he go and lay in wait? Did he go and... Was he watching? You know, it's my thinking. If there was a woodland or something, was he just hiding out until it got dark?
Did Herbert Rush spook him and he just got out of Dodge?
Yeah. I'm just thinking if anyone saw him, they surely would have noticed.
I'm not sure about, but maybe on your skin, but with dark clothes as well. But then if you were behaving in a weird way, trying to cover your hands or cover your body, you think that would stand out. Surgeons in the neurosurgical intensive care unit at Walton Hospital were doing everything they could to save both boys. But sadly, at 3:30am on Sunday the 17th of August 1980, 11-year-old John lost his short but incredibly hard battle with his parents by his side. The injuries his small body has suffered had just been too much for him to recover. His devastated parents' hearts were in pieces, and John Sr. was so utterly broken they had to sedate him.
Oh.
How do you deal with this when just hours before, the same child you're seeing lying on this hospital bed is gone, but was laughing with you before you watched them go for apples and fun with a friend? How does your brain compute that?
There's no way it can, is there?
No, and it blocks it, doesn't it? That's what the brain does.
I hope it did, because, yeah.
Alma and Ron Miller were still sitting vigil with Gary when doctors informed them of John's passing and quietly, with sorrow, told them that they believed there was very little chance of their boy living either. They would do everything they could to prevent this, but the head injuries he had sustained were massive and it was unlikely he would survive them. In fact, they didn't think Gary would live another day. Ron and Alma refused to give up hope, knowing that their son was a wee fighter and was already putting up a huge fight to stay with them. The next morning, this news rocked the small community of Whiston. So this is still Sunday. I'm saying the next morning. He passed at 3:30am.
So it's still the 17th.
It's the same, yeah. This news rocked the small community of Whiston, who had by now heard about the boys being found. They had been praying for the two of them ever since and were now grieving for John whilst hoping against hope that Gary would pull through. And I mean, Whiston, it was smaller than Elgin was back in the day when we lived here.
Yeah.
You know, small, everybody knew everybody. Although there was a bit of a divide over the bridge and on the other side of the bridge, like there was two communities, but on the side of the bridge where the boys lived, everybody would have known about this.
If it was a colliery town as well, was it it's not an affluent place, is it? So I believe, anyway, from my experiences, those types of communities really pull together when
they do, because
like that happens.
Yeah, and they've supported each other through other things, probably.
And everyone does seem to know everyone, so they would have... But that also makes you wonder, was it an outsider or was it somebody passing through? Yeah.
Which is plausible because it's very near the motorway.
Yeah.
On August the 18th, a 20-year-old local man came forward to the police to confess to attacking the two boys. John Cheeseman, a resident of Hughes Avenue in Whiston, was an unemployed former milkman at the time of the attacks on John and Gary. Mr. Cheeseman was well known in the area, especially by local children, as it's believed he had some kind of learning difficulties and had the mental age of around the same of that of a neurotypical 10-year-old.
Cheeseman the milkman. Mm-hmm. Brilliant name.
Yep. He told the police that on the 16th of August he'd gone to the dump with John and Gary to look for bike parts, and when they were there the two young boys had started bullying him. He recalled that they had called him names, sworn at him and accused him of having sex with a local married woman. He lost his temper and hit them both. This confession saw Cheeseman then being charged and put on remand for the following 9 months. Now, I can imagine that this charge was seen as a good thing for the boys' parents, as hopefully the police had the right person, but it came with a huge blow to Barbara and John Sr., as it meant their poor wee boy's body could not be released for burial. Coroner Mr. Roy Barter informed his parents that it was the right of the man charged to request an independent post-mortem, so he was unable to release John to them for the time being. On the 20th of August, 4 days after he'd been brutally assaulted, Gary Miller passed away, his parents still sitting at his bedside. Alma and Ron were also unable to move their boy to a chapel of rest or arrange to lay him to rest for the same reason. An inquest was held on August the 28th, where Dr. Charles St. Hill, the Home Office pathologist, shared the findings of his post-mortem on the boys. Both, he stated, died from cerebral lacerations, which are basically tears or cuts in brain tissue, and hemorrhages of the brain, which is basically bleeding on the brain, which had occurred as a result of fractures of the skulls.
Did they have a suggestion of what the weapon might have been at that stage?
Not at that point.
Because that sounds heavy and sharp.
It was blunt. No, so
blunt.
It was definitely a blunt object, but there's been nothing about what was found or what was used. Absolutely nothing.
No suggested weapon found at all.
Nope.
Right.
On Wednesday the 3rd of September, Vicar Ed Mitchell welcomed the friends and families of both John Greenwood and Gary Miller into St Nicholas Parish Church. They were joined by hundreds of villagers who arrived in their droves to offer support and comfort to the grieving families. Both boys lived just 5 minutes' walk from the church, which I can tell you from personal experience is a beautiful church. I'll put pictures up as well. In the week they should have been starting the first year in their new school, the boys were instead being laid to rest surrounded by lots of their friends. Young children attended wearing their school uniforms or special armbands. Just like thinking 11-year-old children should never be getting buried, they should also never have the trauma of attending a friend's funeral either, and two at the same time.
Yeah, and in such horrendous circumstances, you know. Yeah, I mean, he was a bit older, but I went to my friend Will's funeral when he died in a house fire. There was 3 of them in there, 1 escaped, 2 of them passed. Oh. And it was the first time a load of the school people had come together, like, since leaving. Mm-hmm. Oh, just to see, it was horrendous. To see everyone and his sisters and his brother and, yeah. For 11-year-olds who have been murdered, I can only imagine what that must have felt like.
Doesn't bear thinking about at
all.
That
whole community must have been like completely devastated
and terrified.
And yeah, well, not if they think that they've got somebody for it.
They don't know who it is or anything at this point.
Right, okay.
The public, I mean.
Yeah.
For just 2 weeks before his murder, John had been a member of the local scout group, and so they too were in St Nicholas Church that day to pay their own respects, all of them wearing the traditional Scouts attire. It was another beautiful sunny day when 2 coffins arrived, carefully adorned with flowers and carried by people chosen specially by each of the boys' parents. Both coffins were walked into the church, followed closely by their immediate family, coming slowly behind them. As the congregation before him wept, Vicar Ed Mitchell talked about each of the boys in turn before regaling the response of the community in the aftermath. He shared that it was overwhelming and encouraged everyone there to continue to pray for the boys, their parents and siblings. The service then moved outside and both coffins were taken by pallbearers to their final resting places, down a small hill. After more words from the vicar, they were then lowered into the ground next to one another. Floral arrangements were placed on the grass. Alma and Ron had chosen an arrangement in the shape of a guitar for Gary, and both boys had footballs created out of flowers in the colours of their favoured teams. Red and white for John's team Liverpool, and blue and white for Gary's team Everton. In the days and weeks following the funeral, John Cheeseman was called to Highton Magistrates to appeal for bail, but was repeatedly sent back to remand until the trial, which was set to take place in 1981. This was despite over 1,000 locals signing a petition calling for his release and supporting his innocence due to several people stating that they had seen him at the time the attacks would have occurred.
Oh.
We'll come back to this. On Wednesday the 6th of May 1981, the 5-day trial began. In front of a 12-person jury made up of 6 men and 6 women, Cheeseman pled not guilty of murdering the 2 young boys. His defence made the claim that although their client had confessed to attacking the boys initially, he later redacted what he had said. They put forward the argument that John, who they described as having limited intelligence, got very confused during the questioning and the attack he was talking about happened on another day to other boys. They followed this up by saying he was questioned several times over a period of hours and Cheeseman did not have legal representation in the room with him, just his father, and so was just agreeing with the police, believing that the interrogation would then end and he could go home.
Oh.
And the way I'm describing
him... That reminds me of Brendan Dassey again.
Yeah,
Brandon
Dassey, yeah.
Yeah.
And the way I'm describing him is not the way they've described him. They've used words that we would not even consider using. He was not treated very well during this period.
Right.
However, again, this case is unsolved, so we'll continue. On the first day, the court also heard from Chief Inspector Ernest Kelly from Merseyside CID. He stated that he interviewed the defendant on the 18th of August. DCI Kelly said he allowed Cheeseman's father in the room when questioning him in an effort to be fair to the defendant, as he was aware that the man was of limited intelligence. He did, however, dispute the claim made by Mr. Bennett Heitner, QC of the defence, that Cheeseman would not have understood due to limited capabilities. And those weren't his exact words, but I can't use the descriptors they use. I just refuse.
I can imagine.
During the interview process, he alleged that Cheeseman had confessed to the following. That on Saturday the 16th of August, he had told DCI Kelly that when they were at Height and Tip looking for bike parts, John and Gary were calling him names and swearing at him. He made it clear to Kelly that he doesn't like people swearing at him, and they were using the F word towards him, so he began to hit them. As he did, the boys continued antagonising him, so he hit them more. During the attack, he said that the boys were able to get back up again at first, but he just pushed them back down. He banged both heads on the ground repeatedly. Then at some point he thought maybe one of them was dead, so he stopped hitting and tried to listen to his heart. He then, quote, got a piece of rope and put it round his neck. I thought the other one was dead. He wasn't breathing, he was unconscious. When asked if he knew that John Greenwood was dead at that time, Kelly alleged that Cheeseman said, quote, yes, I'm sorry. The jury were told that during questioning, Cheeseman offered to show police where they would find the cord that he had used when he had tried to strangle John. Now, I haven't found any information to support that the police went and looked for this or if they found any of them.
Why would they not? Surely that would prove their...
Support their theory.
Yeah.
From what I've just told you, I would be with you if you said that the evidence provided on this day was quite damning. However, this wasn't the only evidence that was provided. Mr. Benny Heitner, QC, was in charge of defence for Cheeseman, and he had a lot to say. Firstly, he explained that on the day Cheeseman confessed, police found themselves confused when it became quite clear that the defendant was talking about a completely different incident on a completely different day. Forensic scientists also provided testimony sharing that they had found no physical evidence to even hint at Cheeseman being involved at all. Mr. Justice Taylor later said, quote, this is a remarkable aspect of the case. These two boys were covered in blood, yet no trace of blood was found on the defendant's clothes, and no fibres from clothes, soil, grass, or any trace of rubble from the tip was found on him. I mean, it was days later, so it wouldn't be found on him then.
I'm just thinking as well, was it ligature strangulation or manual strangulation? Surely they would be able to tell that.
Tell by the marks. We don't actually know.
Because that would...
rule that in, alright, but it is curious that he mentioned strangling and there was
strangulation on one.
Yeah. It would appear that it was only his confession that pointed towards him being the perpetrator, and it turned out that despite DCI Kelly saying Cheeseman's father was present for the questioning, something that the Home Office had specified should happen, he wasn't. Now, normally, a 20-year-old would not be given the opportunity to have their father with them. However, because of his limited capabilities, they treated him as the age that he was mentally.
Yeah, I was going to say I know now they have special circumstances. They have different rules that they can use these special measures. That's what I'm trying to say. But I don't know about in 1980 if they would have done. I would have. These are the days when they barely recognised dyslexia and things like that. So I doubt they would have done.
Because they didn't have any of those things then, remember?
No.
Angry autistic women comments. During the questioning, lots of people came forward on behalf of Cheeseman, and this was related in court. A lot of this testimony came from witnesses who believed they had seen Cheeseman between the times that it's believed the attack happened. So if you remember, someone saw the boys climbing through the fence at about 7:05. Herbert Rush arrived on scene no more than 15 minutes later. So that's, 20 past. So that's even, 20 minutes. So, no, wait a minute, that's 15 minutes. So 15 minutes later, Herbert Rush was there, and the boys weren't being attacked at that point because he found them in the moments after.
Sorry, what was the gap between him initially seeing this person behaving
as soon as he got strangely to the tip?
So what time did he get there?
So the boys went through the fence at 7:05. Herbert Rush estimated that he turned up at the tip 7:20.
Right. But he saw it and went back, though, didn't he?
No. He was walking past the tip. He saw the guy on his haunches. As he was watching that and probably still walking the dog,
he decided to turn around.
The guy got up, left, and Herbert went straight.
What was he up to? Because that's a bit weird.
So that's 15 minutes.
So that is all in the space, you know, he turned around all in the same space. Yeah, okay. That's...
So we're really looking at the time between, say, 7 rather than 7:05, just to give a little bit more time, and add 15 minutes to that. We'll go to 7:20, Herbert Rush turning up, because we can't be 100% sure about what time the witnesses saw the boys going in.
But still, it's a 20 minute
time
window
scale
at best.
So...
Wow.
We're first going to go back to the description of the man police said they were looking for. A man wearing a dark brown jacket, dark brown trousers with a sweatback Ronald Reagan style haircut, described as aged between 30 and 35 years, about 5'8" with normal build. Witnesses came forward to say they saw John Cheeseman in Whiston village, which was a bit of a distance from where the boys were found, underneath the town clock between 7 and 7:30 on the night of 16th of August 1980. Now, he was quite well known in the area, probably because of his difficulties, and he was described by more than one witness as having long blonde hair, and he was wearing a red jumper. So his appearance doesn't correlate with the description that the police said they were previously looking for. So does this mean he couldn't have done it? Had police already ruled out the other person? Because just because the guy was there on his haunches behaving weird doesn't mean he had done the crime.
Yeah, I was going to say, how tall is Cheeseman? Because 5'8" for a guy is not massive, is it? Sorry, 5'8" men. I don't mind short men, so it's fine.
There's
digging
nothing about
myself
his
a
height.
hole here. Right.
There's nothing about height. However, bright blonde hair is totally
Bright
different.
blonde hair
and long.
and not
his hair was
slicked
long.
back like Reagan, and not wearing all brown.
But then I can't get over the feeling that maybe the guy maybe he was hiding something, or he could have been there for any reason. So just to play devil's advocate a little bit, doesn't mean that was the person who did it. So maybe police had found him, or he'd came forward and he'd been ruled out anyway. So I've said before that witness testimonies aren't the most reliable, and also we need to be aware that people's motives for coming forward aren't always to get justice for victims. Obviously these statements are in direct contrast to how the person at the tip looked, but maybe the man at the tip had been ruled out, we don't know. And surely Herbert Rush would have given a different description, or mentioned if he also saw Cheeseman near the scene. So he didn't see Cheeseman, he saw a completely different person.
Yeah, I'm assuming that it's a small community. Cheeseman's well known. He would have been able to, and also a former milkman. That's probably why he's well known as well.
I think he was a milkman for his street.
Oh, okay. But still,
yeah,
he would have known. He would have been able to say, "Well, I know who it was."
Yeah, well, the person I saw at the tip was Cheeseman. Yeah. That said, if Cheeseman was seen under the village clock, surely this proves that he wasn't at the tip when the attack happened. Now, this was a huge point of contention in the run-up to the trial, but it was then deemed as unreliable by Mr. Michael Moreland for the prosecution, who explained that the Whiston village clock had 3 faces, all of which had different times.
Oh wow. Why?
Well, because you'd have to climb up and change it, I guess. I don't know. One had the correct time, one was 10 minutes fast, and the other was half an hour slow. So that this means there's a reasonable amount of doubt as to the time people actually saw Cheeseman in the village. So this does point towards plausibility of Cheeseman being at the scene at the time of the boys' murders. And maybe if Cheeseman is the person who did this, he might have got away from there before Herbert Rush turned up.
Also, who are the eyewitnesses that are saying that Cheeseman was elsewhere? Because are they protecting him because they know him, because they know of his difficulties? Is there an ulterior motive there?
That's why witness testimonies are taken with a pinch of salt, isn't it?
Yeah. But still, no forensic evidence linking him is still a bit of a...
It is, but it was 2 days later when he walked in. And say he's told... Well, his dad obviously knew, so say he's told his dad, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but if he's told his dad, maybe his mum and dad have washed the clothes, and again, I'm not saying that's what happened. And they stood by him the whole time.
And also, you've got to bear in mind, I suppose, that this wasn't instantly murder, so would the police have treated it forensically that way if it was... They should have done, but...
I think they did, because they did know very, straight away that the boys weren't going to survive.
Through. Right.
And also, they wouldn't have been able to do any searching while the boys were in hospital, because it would have been too dark by then, and John died at 3:30 in the morning, remember?
Yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, Cheeseman was considered to have the mental capacity of a 10-year-old and was well known by the kids in the area, some of whom came out to speak in his support. During trial, some told Mr. Justice Peter Taylor, who was presiding over the trial, that Cheeseman's nickname locally was Concord, due to his nose being on the large side. One of the children, a 12-year-old boy called David Dunmore, shared that the name never seemed to bother Cheeseman and he had always found him to be happy and had never seen him angry. But then we know that Cheeseman himself said he got angry and upset with boys, whoever they were.
Because they swore at him.
On May the 11th, the trial concluded and the jury was sent away to discuss the findings and come up with a verdict. After only 45 minutes, they came back and acquitted Cheeseman due to police mishandling of the case.
Right.
This mishandling is with regards to how police treated Cheeseman during the questioning, not allowing him to have sufficient legal representation during the same questioning, and as I will touch on soon, the mishandling of forensic evidence and ignoring statements from people who said they could speak to Cheeseman's innocence or guilt. Due to the double jeopardy laws of the time, Cheeseman was therefore declared an innocent man in the eyes of the law, though not in the eyes of many, including the sister of John Greenwood, who I spoke to about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. But this doesn't mean the case ended here. Double jeopardy means that a person cannot be tried again if found not guilty or acquitted unless fresh evidence is brought forward. In 2008, a case review was done which found that many items of forensic evidence had been lost or destroyed.
But is this not still an active case then if it's unsolved?
It's unsolved and it goes through periods of activity.
Right, so a bit like the Christina Menzies one then.
I think this is what happens with most unsolved cases. They get shelved for a while and then new detectives come in and look at it. And now we've got a lot of cold case teams, which I hate saying cold case.
Yeah, I wish there were more actually. Like, I watch a lot of programs about police and stuff, and you hear a lot of retired police officers who are still involved in certain things. And it's like, why not give them the opportunity to semi-retire and take on?
Because there's not enough money to have police out and about and be solving the current crimes.
But the wealth
either.
of knowledge that they've got by that time, you just think, wow, they're losing an asset every time a police officer retires.
They could even have some form of committees and that meet biannually or whatever and look at a bunch of cases and like, does anybody have any thoughts?
Yeah.
But maybe they do that. But that's what the review system is as well. So most cases are reviewed fairly frequently. But this one, it was 2008 and obviously the boys had been murdered in 1980.
Yeah.
In 2008, a case review was done. Oh yeah, so I was saying about the evidence lost and destroyed, and whenever I hear this personally, I think somebody's trying to cover something up. Is it that they know that they didn't do enough, or is it they've decided on somebody's and they can't back down? Pride comes into a lot of things, like pinning it on somebody, and so they ignore other evidence.
I think that's giving them more credit. I think actually it's probably half the time just incompetence, and they've just...
And you know, we talk about incompetence, and we've got the benefit of the scientific tests that can be done now, and having seen other cases being solved, whereas back in the 80s, this might have been the first murder they'd ever dealt with. And protocols, I don't even know if there was protocols in place then.
No, they're probably procedurally, it's probably evolved as well as everything else. You know, as forensic science has evolved as well, they would have had to have reassessed risk assessments, procedural, administrative, every aspect of it. So, and I think a box of evidence sometimes they don't know the relevance of it, do they? So
it goes, and I think this breaks my heart though for the family members, because so many unsolved cases are being cracked wide open now because of DNA and they don't have anything. Later, in 2016, during an 8-month investigation by the Times newspaper, Gary and John's friend George McCartney spoke out in an article about how he had gone to the police in the days after his friends had been brutally murdered and said he had information only to be told to go away.
What?
Yeah, the police were basically
But he was 11 or 12 at the time. If an 11 or 12-year-old goes to you and says they've got information, you blooming listen.
Well, you do, especially in this case, because it involves 11-year-olds. So
exactly.
In the Times, he shared that before the three of them had gone home for lunch that day, they had seen Cheeseman. And according to George, they'd been messing about in the tip that day when Cheeseman had hopped over the gate. And so he and his two friends decided to have a laugh with him. Basically, they wanted to wind him up. They climbed a tree and started throwing conkers down at him and watching him get mad when he couldn't get up the tree to them. When they did get down, they saw him come round the corner. So he left, Cheeseman left. But when they came down, Cheeseman saw them and chased them for a good 20 minutes. McCartney said the three of them, quote, gave it legs, which I think means legging it. I've never heard that before, have you?
No, but I love that.
Gave it legs. And they were chased by Cheeseman for about 20 minutes before he gave up. Around the same time as George went to the Times, an unnamed witness also spoke to the Times and stated that she believed a man she had seen on the tip between 6 and 7 on that day was Cheeseman.
Wow.
Very interestingly, based on this article, Merseyside detectives said they would be speaking to them, so George and the other witness, and examining new leads the Times had found. These leads were a potential new suspect. Don't get excited, we didn't hear anything else about that. And another woman who claimed that on the night of the murders, Cheeseman had come to her home wearing trousers that she thought, quote, looked like red paint, had red paint on them. Something that Cheeseman denied. The following year, in 2017, Merseyside Chief Constable Andy Cook also acknowledged that the original investigation into the murders of John and Gary was not performed as thoroughly as it should have been. No shit, Sherlock. They also announced that in 2016 they had reopened the case and had some new leads, and they were now looking for the following people to come forward to speak to them in connection with the case. So first, they wanted to speak to two men who in August 1980 would have been between the ages of 10 and 15 years old. They were seen by witnesses outside Whiston Health Centre in the weeks before the murders, being attacked or assaulted by an adult male. They were also looking for another man who would have been in the same age range as the first two. He was seen with another boy behind the Labour Club in Whiston on the day the boys were found. So remember, the boys had walked behind there that day. Police believe the man had the childhood nickname of Duffy or Cuffy. And finally, they wanted to speak to people who went to school with the boys and anyone who was a member of the 28th St Helens, 1st Whiston Scout Group, latterly known as the 2nd Knowsley Scout Group in 1980. So they were finally, I can't believe they hadn't spoke to them at the time.
To the Scout Group, yeah.
They never, or the kids, local kids. They're the ones who are going to hear what's happened. In 2019, Chief Constable Andy Cook met with both families and explained that although the current force had gone back and looked into the case from the beginning and worked the new leads and areas of the case that had previously been missed, they had submitted a file of all the new evidence they had to the Director of Public Prosecutions, aka the DPP. However, after going through the file and after lots of consideration, the DPP decided that they wouldn't allow the case in its current form to be taken any further. In the event that police find information of a more compelling nature, they would of course resubmit the file and it could be taken into consideration again. Obviously, this is devastating to the families who are still fighting to this day. Chief Constable Cook apologised profusely for the mistakes previously made and assured them that they were still committed to finding justice for the boys. Doesn't really feel like they're that committed though, does it?
It's one of those awkward things though, like...
What use is the apology? It should have been done right to begin with. Basic things.
It should have, but from his perspective, he's coming in as fresh. What can he do more than apologise for them and their, what's the word I'm looking for?
Culpability or actions or...
Bleh, brain fart.
I feel...
Misfailings. No, that's not the right word. What's it called?
Well, maybe they should come out and say what the failings were and explain how they've done it differently this time. Maybe they did. They had a meeting with them, so maybe they did do this. But I feel like the public should know that as well. Okay, you're saying stuff went wrong, so
tell us what went wrong. And tell us how you're going to rectify it. What actions are you going to take to make it right?
Yeah, so these families...
But maybe they did tell the people in the meeting that, yeah.
I don't think they told them much, to be fair. So after this meeting, obviously, the families were left heartbroken yet again. They've still got no answers, and they've been campaigning ever since what happened to the boys happened. Sadly, though, in 2021, Barbara Greenwood, John's mother, who had spent years campaigning and visiting the cemetery alongside Alma Miller, passed away, with her children by her side. Well, her remaining children. They hope that she's somewhere now with Gary, but isn't that disgusting that they've just got nothing?
They've never found out. Are the siblings still campaigning then?
Yeah, so there is a Facebook group. I'm not going to share the name of it just now because it's actually been disabled for a little while, and it's run by Deborah, who was John's 2-year-old sister at the time of his passing.
So she really missed out on everything.
Mm-hmm. But she's fought and fought and fought, and she's the one that makes petitions and tries to get the case listened to.
Yeah, and what more can she do?
If somebody's gone home covered in blood, somebody's covered that up.
It's one of those things, like, if you can just give these people that closure, they can actually get on with their lives. They don't have to, like, you're forcing them to keep doing this and keep reliving this until
their whole life
it's
becomes
done.
That.
It's so it's torture.
It is torture. It is. So that was the horrendous case of the Whiston boys.
Absolutely. I think that's probably one of the worst you've done. That is awful.
Please share this episode, people.
I mean, things like you were saying about the stuff that they would have kept forensically and stuff. Nowadays, they'd even have kept the mattress, wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm. Or they would have kept part of the mattress.
Yeah.
Maybe that bottom, the area that was on top of the boys. Yeah. And okay, I can forgive them for things like that, for not keeping a mattress.
I can't.
Because they didn't know better.
Oh, come on. They've got art galleries and things with massive, great stuff that doesn't mean anything. No, that's not true.
I know, but that's a different, that's a completely different sector though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like they wouldn't have, I don't know. That just annoys me. Just keep everything. Be a hoarder like me.
You'd still have the mattress.
I would still have the mattress. That's so sad. And you've told it really well. I mean, but there were little boys out going for apples. Mm-hmm. Crafty fag. Whatever. They were just being kids. And all right, even if they were being buggers and tormenting somebody of low intelligence or intellect or whatever, that doesn't mean they deserve to be bashed to death.
Nobody deserves that. And also, if you think back of the attitude, like I had to cut things that I was saying differently because like I couldn't quote a lot of what was said about John Cheeseman. So kids were brought up to think that people with learning difficulties were less.
Yeah,
That's not their fault. That's the environment they were being brought up in.
They were figures of fun, weren't they? And that was it wasn't unusual. It was just the way it was. And it's horrid. It's horrid.
So
and I'm sure he would have got frustrated, and I'm sure it would have been upsetting, but it doesn't ever.
If it was John Cheeseman, he's reacted in the way that a 10-year-old might have reacted. Unfortunately, had more power and strength behind him.
Yeah.
So if it was him,
a 10-year-old brain in a man's body, and he's just lashed out.
So hopefully if it was him, something is going to come up, someone's going to come forward, something's going to happen that means the case can be done again, he'll get tried again and found guilty. However, if it wasn't him, I really hope something happens so that the family at least know who did this to their boys.
Because there's somebody out there saying, haha, they blamed the local, whatever.
As always, references will be in the Spotify blurb.
This one made me sad.
Yeah, it's a horrible one. A lot of pictures will be shared. Please share the episode with people or even share some of the posts that we have, because if I didn't know about this case, then a lot of people don't know about this case. So we're going to have to close out because Victoria needs a pee. So
she always outs me. I have a hamster bladder. It's not my fault.
In the opening, we shared all our socials, so you know where to go to find us. And
thanks for still being here, guys.
Thank you for listening. Oh, and quick shout out before she wets herself. We had a really lovely message from one of my school friends back in the day. She was Michelle Allen at the time. She's Michelle Dobbs now. Remember when my mum and dad split up? I went and lived in a little bedsit, and it was attached to a bigger house. It was her house. So she's been listening. She thinks we're nutters, but she's enjoying hearing the cases and has
So you were
found
kind
a
of
lot
like
she doesn't
her
know.
little Harry Potter under the stairs.
We used to talk through the keyhole. Look through the keyhole. Anyway, so that's a little bit of a lighter note to end the day on. But thank you for listening.
Harry Potter. Bye. Keep on trucking.